Welcome back. Today, we have an extra special treat for everybody. My guest today has been a PT for 2 decades. She is a warrior. She took the hospital system and said, hey, that's not for me. Doubled down, started her own practice, Eagle PT, where she serves American values. That's freedom, sovereignty, and service. She is a mom. She hikes almost every single weekend. She is all over the place. She is very active. She lifts weights. She's strong. She is a force. My guest today, Kathleen Beede. What's up, dude?
Hey.
How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on the show today. And I'm not sure if I mentioned your business there, but the what I was talking about was the Eagle.
Yeah.
You know, the Eagle PT there. It's what a beautiful way to put it. I've heard you say before how, you know, it's the American values. Let's hear you say it. Where did Eagle PT come from?
So my fiance and I have a lake house, and on the lake we saw some eagles flying, and it was at a time in my life when, you know, just after COVID, and thinking a lot about American values and just how beautiful and free and, you know, there's so much symbolism in eagles. And so I didn't feel like it was any mistake that we were seeing a lot of eagles at that time. And so when I had to think about what I wanted the name of my business to be, it just really fit. Yeah, just the symbol, the American freedom, medical freedom, excellence, all the above.
It's a real thing, and it's something that, like, some people have, you know, will throw it back at me and be like, oh, American excellence, you know, don't say that, you know, it's like, man, I know that we're not perfect. We're not perfect, but we're doing a really good job. You know, American excellence is, to me, is people like you, people like me, people who I know in this community who said, I'm going to start a business. I'm going to start a community. I'm going to start some type of movement, and I'm going to put my action towards that.
Yeah.
And it creates this beautiful world, this beautiful society where people are creating things that are helping people, that are, you know, creating an economy, which can obviously go too far in one direction. I think that's where we're at sometimes with these major corporations. But on the scale of what we're doing in the community with people like you, that is what human beings need, and what has built this country and will continue to build this country for a long time.
I think it's about striving for excellence. You know, that's what I'm always trying to do, and I think that's what the American way is. You know, we're striving for excellence, striving to make things better.
Yeah, I think that's a really strong you know, sentiment, and to take that into your practice. Somebody told me that there's somewhere in Portsmouth right now, there's a juvenile bald eagle.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
On the lake where we see our eagles. Last summer, we actually were floating around on the pontoon boat, and we see a nest, a giant nest, and we're like, oh my gosh, I wonder if there's like eggs in there or whatever, you know. So we were like waiting, and we saw one eagle like close by, and we were waiting for like the second one to show up. And all of a sudden, another one comes, and as it's coming down, 2 little baby eagle heads pop out of the nest. Yeah, it was just so amazing. We were like waiting for that moment, you know, to like see that all happening. And so then we watched those like eagles grow and then fly out of the nest, and so that was our fun last summer.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That is so cool. You know, there's a channel that follows these eagles from somewhere, Big Bear Mountain, maybe in Montana. I'm not really sure where it even is, but it's these eagles that, you know, had babies, and then last year they lost their babies, but then this year they made it through, and these eagles went through to protect their young and to get them, it was like so, and to be able to see that, you know, for you to kind of get to see these eagles oh man, these guys are doing it. They're being parents. Kind of another thing, maybe you didn't mention it too. That's like what an eagle is this like incredible parent. And like you're an incredible mom. You're an incredible, yeah. I'm gonna tell the listeners here how we met. So I love the sauna, and I love, biohacking and figuring out my body and, engaging with people. And so I'm in the sauna at my gym, and, I hear these two young men, not sure. I thought they were college age. And they were talking, and like, I just loved it because I was like, the stuff that the two of them were talking about was, about health and about how they could make themselves better, and, what they're going to do this afternoon to get, and I'm like, man, not how I was thinking in college.
Yeah, yeah.
And so then I engage with them, and I'm like, they say something. I look for my time to let them know that they're doing the right thing. That's kind of what I wanted to do. Like, I need to tell these guys how awesome they are, and that they're on the path. And so I interject, and I tell them how cool they are and that they're on the right path. And then we start chatting about who I am and what I do and who they are. And I find out they're in high school. And I'm like, my Lord, like, these kids are jacked up. They are so articulate, and one of them, ends up telling me how cool his mom is, and how that she would be the best guest for my show because she is a freedom fighter. She is a person who is authentically herself and is, becoming that every day. And I was just like, everything this kid is telling me, it is true, and I know it to be, and I need to seek this out, and I need to find this person and see what they're doing in their practice to see how, this force that we're talking about, the American force, the excellence. Somebody is doing this right now, and this kid is a part of it.
Yeah.
And so we, we exchanged numbers, him and I. He told me the Instagram, and we reached, I reached out, and we set up a beautiful session. I got to come in and meet you and got to see your practice. And that's really what I like to do is if I am going to have some type of clinician on my show, I want to, get into their office, get into their practice, and see what's actually happening. And I'll tell you what, we did a little work together, and I'm my body's starting to feel differently from some of the exercises that you've shown me, and I'll be excited to do more work with you in the future.
Yeah.
But your son, wow, he just I'm a father, and I want to create an environment where my son feels that way about his mother and about me. And I'm going to strive to do that. And so that was a massive impact that you had on me before you even met me.
Yeah. Through my son, which again, really touches my heart because all of the changes that I've, made over the past 5 years, I was alluding to just, hitting 50, divorce, my parents passed away, all these things. But a lot of the decisions.
Starting a business. Telling a big corporation that, hey, you actually don't have control over me and what I put into my body.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go do this on my own because I can and I will.
So many of the decisions I had to make around all those hard things happening that, do I dwell on this or do I make an opportunity out of this? Do I, get depressed about any of it, or do I, pursue excellence like we were just talking about? And, it comes, when you're a parent, a lot of it is like, you're making decisions based on yourself and your family and, how you want them to see the world. And so you're that reflection for them. So, no, it makes me feel like really, really good. Like I was just telling you too, though. So this is the second story recently of somebody telling me that my son was, that he was sharing with other people that I was his best friend, which he's never shared that personally with me. And I don't strive, again, we talked about I don't strive to be his best friend because I don't think that that's always the best way to raise a child to, always be their friend. Like you have to show them that things are hard and make them have hard decisions and those things. Like I don't try to make things comfortable for him and just be his best friend, but
kind but firm.
Yeah.
Authoritative parenting.
Yeah.
It's cool. I actually came across some notes from a class that I took in college when I was cleaning out my garage, and for whatever reason, this class that I took that I forgot about these notes, and then I came back to it, and it was these 4 parenting types that they have, and the best one is they call it authoritative, and it's when you're really kind and understanding, but you're firm.
Yep.
You're firm and kind of sounds like what you got going on.
Yeah, and you be the person that you hope that they will be. So I had actually completed 75 hard a few years prior to that, and he watched me go through it. Which if people aren't familiar with that, it's like a mental toughness program more than anything. Teaches you about like the importance of being consistent and having discipline. You have to do 2 workouts a day, 45 minutes. At least one of them has to be outside. You have to drink a gallon of water. You have to take a personal, like a progress picture. You have to read 10 pages of personal growth a day. So a personal growth book. And you have to follow a diet, not like a specific diet, but, so for him, like he chose to make sure that he was eating enough protein, like hit his macros. But being a kid, like he wasn't super strict, but things that kids don't normally even hit like good protein. So that was good. And he had cut out all the junk.
You can tell. You can tell.
Yeah.
Kid looked great. Looked like he was, junior in college, jacked up, ready to go.
And so he decided to do that on his own. He was doing it for a senior project as well, which I think is cool because he's presenting it probably, I think, this week to his school.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You want to know what? You want to know what might be cool? At some point, I'll have to chat with him. Is maybe I'll have Nate come on the show.
Yeah.
And talk about that, the 75 heart, and how he actually went through that, because that is what drew me into him, is like him telling me about that.
Mm-hmm.
So just continue.
Yeah. So no, I'm just really proud of him that he committed to that program, did it for 75 days. If you mess up on one of the days, you have to start from day 1. So you have to track, and you have an app, or he actually created his own little spreadsheet to make sure he did all the things. And so he's showing his progress pictures to his school, and he got pretty fit. So, and I actually paid for him to have a little photo shoot too.
Cool.
So he's got some really cool pictures that, he showing off his muscles and everything. And he felt good. He was telling me all the other things that you experience when you follow that level of discipline. He was just amazed at like how he was so tired at night. Like normally kids, I think, they're whatever on their phones and they're not getting enough exercise and they have trouble maybe falling asleep, so they're staying up late. And he's like, no, I'm hitting. He's falling over to go to sleep. Everything. So yeah, he got so much benefit out of it.
I got benefit out of it. Just listening to that, 17-year-old kid, has the, maybe 16 at the time, I don't even know, had the guile, had the confidence in himself to say, I'm gonna do this. Like there was people when I was in high school that we were lifting and we were, trying to be healthy, but it just didn't exist like that.
Yeah.
It didn't exist where this was like a cool program that you could follow and be committed to. And so like as much as the world is changing, and sometimes I get nervous about that, and I'm like, oh man, it's good. It's really cool too. Yeah. It's really cool because Nate got to do something like that.
Influential with his friends too. I think there were a lot of friends then that were like interested in what he was doing, wanted to eat what he was eating. So he's eating like a lot of like grass-fed ground beef and rice and things like that. So yeah.
Good for you for being the mom, because like obviously there was some support that went along with that, right? Like maybe you're not cooking for him, but you're helping to teach him how to cook, and you're doing it with him.
Yeah.
And so there's good for you for helping him out and supporting that, because sometimes like life can get so busy, right? And so like we focus sometimes on the wrong things, and that's what you guys focused on. You focused on this beautiful thing, this beautiful journey that he went on, and you by extension being his mom, went on with him. And it's just that it makes me feel like that's what I want to do with my kids, and I want to, I need to instill it. I need to say it now, because the world, it will pull you away from it, right? Like it's like even going on vacation, like you can, we're going to go on vacation, so let's skip it. It's like, no. We're the family who goes on vacation, and we get a little workout in, and we take care of our bodies, and we always, we take care of our minds, through that. That's what I want to strive for that. Do you lift? Will you take time off? Will you take time off from like doing exercises and lifting? And
rarely, yeah. Even when I travel, I'm looking for the gym, and I like to get a little bit of movement in, no matter where I am. And we take, now that we've added hiking, actually, sometimes after a day of like a really hard hike day, we may take the next day off, because like going into a new sport, our bodies get a little bit beat up. So
You're new to the hiking.
newer to the hiking.
Oh
Yeah.
man, you look like a professional. You're like all the Instagram pictures and what you're doing.
We dove right into it. I didn't know that we were going to continue to do it through the winter, but we did. So yeah, we started at like probably the best time, like the end of the summer, early fall. It was beautiful. And then we were like committed. So we start, and then all of a sudden, you have leaf season, which is slippery. And then I was like, okay, well, we'll get some snowshoes just so we can stay training on flat ground for like endurance reasons. And then no, my fiance, he's pretty hardcore. He was like, nope, we're gonna keep going. So we got the snowshoes to do our hiking, and so yeah, we hiked all through winter. I don't think we barely missed one weekend. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's every time I see your stuff, you're always hiking, you're at some, posting what trail you're on. And I think that's great because I want to start engaging more. My son's 2.5, and so he's not quite ready, and we're gonna have this other baby. But when the other baby comes, he'll be ready. I think he'll be like 3.5, 4, whatever. And so he'll be able to kind of move a little bit more, and then I can just throw the other baby on the back, and just kind of start to get us in nature that way. Does Nate and you? I know you have another son too. I just don't know who that is. Because we haven't met. But do they come on the hikes with you? Do they engage with you guys?
Just recently, actually, I started hiking with them, and I'm hoping to do some more this summer. But yeah, this is my first summer hiking, really full summer. So
you started in the winter.
I started the end of last summer. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, winter hikes are cool. I've done one winter hike, and I've done Mount Lafayette, which is a 5,000 foot. So it's a hard one, I think. It's like it probably shouldn't have been the first, winter hike. But my homie was just like, no, man, you got it. We brought the snowshoes, we brought the spikes, we're kind of climbing at the end,
If you pace yourself, then you can.
Yeah, and if you have, like you said, I was definitely beat up in the right gear. I was definitely beat up afterwards. I was definitely a little bit beat up because it's like you're moving different muscles that you're not always used to, even if you are somebody who lifts weights and gets out there.
People think automatically that my fiance and I are like, we're going to be really good at like hiking. You're like, oh, you guys are like, oh, we're breaking into hiking. We were in the gym for a while, so this is a new thing for our bodies.
What a cool way to get it too, because like you're out in the sun, you're out in nature. Kind of disconnected from it all.
Yeah.
The medicine in that is
so good. Yeah.
So good.
No, we see the value of spending time outside, which was a lot on the boat, but now this summer it's going to be a hike and then probably on the boat. But yeah, being outside is the best medicine.
I love it. Now, with the the medical freedom stuff, you were a pretty badass. You made a pretty badass decision. You were working in, you were in insurance-based, hospital-based system where you were doing inpatient, outpatient, throughout your career, just had really experienced it all, from my understanding.
Yeah.
And then they came to you and said, hey, you need to take these vaccines to be able to continue your job. Must have been, you said no. You said no, and you doubled down, and you created this beautiful business, and that was hard. That was a really hard. You want to know what? It's like I made that same decision, right? I made that same decision. There was jobs that I, didn't do because I didn't want to get vaccinated, versus against COVID, and it created like a resilience in me, and but I don't know if I would have been able to make that decision if I had children. I might this decision was before I had kid, and so I might not have. So that you were able to say, hey, this is the best decision, because you don't know, there was so much out there. Am I doing the wrong thing? Is this, I'm a pharmacist, so at first I thought maybe we did take off the guardrails and we've created something that, could help here. Maybe this is, I want to believe the information they're telling me.
Oh, for sure. I wanted to believe it too. I took a little while for me to really see what was happening. Because, like you, I was in the hospital system, and as much as I could see that there were failings in there, and that I always felt like we could do a little bit better by our patients. And I didn't love that it was the insurance driven piece of it. I still felt like everybody was trying to do their best. And I really felt like the recommendations that we would make to people were, the best that we could do. And as COVID, progressed on, and I realized that there were things that people were obviously lying about. I mean, it was just so obvious being in the hospital system, I felt like at that time. All the like noble lies. I was just totally mind blown. It started like with the masking, don't wear them, you don't need them. And then, but like if you read the fine print of these handouts they're giving us, it's like, oh, because we don't have enough. But like they didn't say that, It's like I'm like, give me all the information. Fine. We're trying to conserve masks, but like then when I'm with a patient and I know that they're COVID positive, then I would do something differently if I have all the information.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just started to really, I lost the trust in the medical system at that point. And so I even, it was still hard as I was losing that trust because there was so much pressure with getting vaccinated and everything. And also just knowing, like, everything happened so fast, right? Like you were saying, like, you wanted to believe like this could actually work. And I wasn't sure either. But then like, as I'm watching, I was trying to get all the information I could from which you had to go to lots of different sources because it wasn't readily available, right? What was really happening? What was the real data? And seeing that this wasn't going to be the solution. Hearing I was following people like Robert Malone and, people that had helped create mRNA vaccines. Yeah. And he was saying like, this is not the way to use it. This is not safe. And I'm like, okay, the creator of it, like we have some reason to have some hesitation here. And people, even as people in my department were getting their vaccination, I remember the first girl that got it and we were all in the room, we all staring at her like, how do you feel? Was it, you know what I mean? Like everybody had that, everybody disconnected from their intuition at that time. And it was so weird to me.
And so many people are still disconnecting from their intuition, regarding it, which is really sad because it's like they were forced to believe something and then, almost like an identity, gets formed around it and the other people are bad. My mom was dying of cancer when it happened. This is like where the data-driven stuff was so funny, right? Like it's like my mom was dying of cancer. And so she's a person who we want to make sure is protected and that she's not getting necessarily exposed to COVID. We're doing the best we can, right? Yeah. Let's take the precautions if we can. And, people in my family and in, my circle were, when I told them that this is like, I'm not doing this, I'm just not going to do it because the information, I was a person where I could have gone, and if it had worked out earlier, I probably would have got it in my body because I'm a pharmacist. I have people who were, there's a lot of backdoor dealings going on there. Some people were like, oh, I need to get the shot as fast as I can. Yeah. And people had access and they would call me some days and be like, hey, do you want to come to the pharmacy and get this? Yeah. We have a couple extra. And I was like, no, I think I'm good for now, but I could have said yes one of those days. And then, my wife gets it and then I see her, get COVID, 3 months later. And I said, okay, we're going to start moving goalposts here and kind of predicted where things would go. Mm-hmm. But it was very clear that the best way, and this was even a bullshit way because the tests were like, maybe 40% accurate, but the best way to protect somebody would be to test, if you can, and to see if you were COVID positive, mm-hmm. instead of just thinking that you were going to protect somebody because you got vaccinated. Yeah. So like there's times where I didn't, maybe I didn't get to see my family or see my mom as much as I would have liked to. At first, I kind of pushed through that and let everybody know like, hey, this is a bunch of bullshit and this is not the way. This is not the way. And so but it existed. It existed where this was, and if it happened for me and my family, it happened, with probably schisms of, thousands, millions of families where that internal system was disrupted because for an unnecessary reason. Yeah. And so just the whole data-driven thing, the best way to protect somebody is to, take a test and to do that. The whole testing thing was a bunch of bullshit too. But we're still, giving these vaccines to children. Somehow it ended up on the childhood vaccine schedule.
Yep.
Holy,
And it's still there. Yeah.
yeah,
And we still don't, there's no data about these vaccine injuries that I mean, I think I've talked with you just a little bit about it, but like within our own little worlds, and like you think about how many people it's like such a small amount of like all the people, obviously. And I personally know people that have had, vaccine injuries. Like, and if we actually knew all the data, if the VAERS system or whatever was actually taken seriously, and we use some of this information, I think it's just way bigger than it's scarily much bigger, so much bigger than we realize. Yeah, I
yeah.
have, people in their late 30s with myocarditis. A close friend of mine just had severe vertigo after her first, it was the double injection one. I forget even which one that was. But
Johnson and Johnson.
Johnson & Johnson. So she ended up getting fired because she couldn't tolerate getting the second one, but yet nobody that wasn't nothing's recorded. I hear
Right.
so many
Where's
stories,
the
and
recourse with that, right? This person
nobody
now
was
is injured
recording
because
these
her work
things.
did that to her, and there's no
And she's an
recourse for that.
artist, and she couldn't do her art, after that for quite a while. So yeah.
Yeah, I know people have, I know people are like my age having a stroke. People have heart problems, and it's, I talk to a lot of paramedics. Like I said, I kind of know, and I kind of have, because I have people who in my personal circle.
Yeah.
I have paramedics who are I was disillusioned with healthcare. I was disillusioned. You were disillusioned with healthcare. We took our path. These poor paramedics, man, some of the people who are frontline that see this stuff every day, that are going and seeing just young kids. And I don't even know if it's, that was definitely the big change that happened, was the COVID mRNA vaccine. But there's so much toxic giddy up that just exists everywhere in our society.
Yeah.
And the screens, the blue light on our screens, and the what that what's that's doing to just our posture and looking down constantly.
Yeah.
It's just creating an unhealthy society.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I think connecting with our intuition, I've just gone. That's kind of the chase of what I'm doing in my business. Is I really see what I feel in my own body. What's my intuition when I'm working with somebody? What ancestrally, did we need to survive? What did we do? What movements did we do to survive? Like, so yeah, I've pulled just a lot back from the traditional medical system, or traditional food, yeah.
What does your diet look like?
A lot of protein, grass fed, organic. I believe, and I definitely think that vegetables are super important. So I've been adding a lot of that, especially as I'm in that like perimenopause phase. Hormonally, I think that's really important. So I do try to hit vegetables. I'm not as good as I should be on that.
Better at the protein.
Better at the protein. I do think I think you could live off of solely just the protein. I think that, I don't think the carnivore I don't think any one way diet is the way to go. But I think you could, that one has the best success.
Oh, for sure. Seeing like the outcomes that people have had from it, just like have been incredible. Seeing people heal from like serious physical immune disease, and coming back from it just by doing carnivore diet, epilepsy, autism, there's been like, big jumps in some of those case studies that I've seen. What do you think about protein powder?
I think it's a good, like something you can add if you're not hitting your protein, but I wouldn't say that you should use that as, a meal per se.
Do you use it?
I do use it.
Okay.
I do. Just, I want to make sure that I'm getting a little extra protein. And also I think when you first wake up, I read a lot of things, and I know things come and go. I'm always open-minded. But when you first wake up, getting some protein into your body because you're in that fasted state is a good time to make sure that you're stopping any sort of anabolic stuff that's happening, catabolic when you stay anabolic. But so yeah, I'll have it in my coffee in the morning.
Oh, you put in coffee. Do you mind sharing what brand you use?
Paleo Valley.
Paleo Valley.
Currently that's my favorite brand, grass-fed, really clean ingredients.
I use the Naked. Is that good?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think I've looked at the Naked.
The Naked Way, it's good. It's just the, it's just the Naked Way. It's just the protein, the way.
And probably yes. Is it grass fed,
It's
organic?
grass fed. Yeah, grass fed organic.
Perfect.
Yeah. So I think it's great. And I'll tell you what, it's like I was doing vegan protein for a while.
Oh,
That I was
I
just,
did too for a while. I was a vegan for a while.
okay. Yeah. So my wife's a vegetarian. So I went vegetarian, just by association for a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
while. And you want to know what though? Thank God, because that's what taught me
Hmm.
that the meat system was so, because I've got away from it. Was so easy for me to get away from meat because I was like, this fucking shit is disgusting.
Yeah.
I don't want to eat a cheeseburger from this place or no thanks. Like I know that this is making me sick and it makes me feel sick. And I look at it and I know the dyes that you're putting into this and it's
Yep.
disgusting.
Yes, the
And
antibiotics, whatever
antibiotics.
else.
And let's talk about how these animals are being treated.
Yeah,
And talk
yeah.
about how they're, how can that be good? How can that be a good energy exchange that's happening? So I went to the vegetables and
Yeah.
and I learned.
I feel like I had a similar story to you. I was a vegetarian for 6 years around the college time, and just a lot of lessons for me in how the nutrient density of our food, how like our food is raised, because I think how things are even treated and the hormones that are produced from a stressed animal is in that food too, and you're getting all that plus all the garbage. So it helped me eat cleaner. Like I was definitely eating cleaner as a vegetarian, and then I went back to eating everything, and then I went to vegan for like 3 or 4 years. And again, I think there was some value. I think there's value in trying any diet out and learning a lesson from it, and how do you feel and how do you
Cannabis products are becoming more popular every day. Whether you're looking for the best night's sleep, trying to mitigate daily stress, or just trying to enjoy some laughter with friends, OG Cannabis is the store for you. OG Cannabis has an unbiased approach that is unique and simple. Unlike the competition, they don't sell their own manufactured products, but instead proudly showcase the best vendors across Maine. A dispensary like no other. Come and visit today at 18 American Way, Elliott, Maine. OG Cannabis. Oh, and don't forget to use my promo code, Dr. BeeWell. See you guys there. Giddy up. How does your body respond to it?
Yeah.
Because some things that work for some people might not work for you.
Correct.
We're not all the same. We're actually we are very, very similar. And that's why it's great that we can do certain practices. But to know your own intuition and to know what makes, that's what I'm always going towards.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'm in it. Sometimes I'm out of it. Where I'm like, how does this actually make my body feel? Am I actually improving here, or am I just doing this to do it?
Yes.
And with the diet's like the biggest one, because it's such a relationship where it's a dopamine inducing relationship, because it had to be, because we wanted to strive, because we needed food to survive.
Mm-hmm.
But we use it to for comfort, and we use it a lot for nutrition reasons, and especially when you're not getting any nutrition from the food.
That's the thing. I feel like that's one of the things that my intuition picks up is like, how satiated do I feel from what I'm eating, and that when you're not hitting whatever your macros are, or you're getting all those nutrients that you should be getting, you're more hungry and you're wanting to eat more, and you can feel your blood sugar, going up and down.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm eating a diet heavier in protein, those things don't happen. So that's where I'm at.
No, literally. It's funny because I had the vegan protein, and that was just a part of it because I was the vegetarian. I'd found one that I liked the taste of. It was kind of questionable about some of the stuff, but couldn't really figure out all of it. It felt okay about it. And then, I was just like starting to eat meat again, for the last, probably 4 years. But this time I came back around and was just like, I know the cow. I know the homie.
Yeah.
I know him. I know the chickens. I know the people who are producing my food.
Yeah.
Like, I've become super local in that.
Yeah.
With vegetables, CSA, shout out to Nerdy Turnip Farm in Rochester. It's awesome operation down there. Seeing what people can do on a half acre of land, producing food for their community. We're
important.
talking, so important.
I know.
You have some of that stuff going on, at Eagle, from my understanding, right?
Well, I have some Thrive food coming in, which is a great resource for hitting your macros. So they're very like protein dense foods. They have like low sugar. They're good. But like farm raised food is my goal. Yeah. During COVID, we got what is the name of the butcher box?
Yep.
So we got on that, and we have to keep our freezers stocked. You know, we knew we could get that on the regular. Their pricing was really good when prices were like going weird around COVID time. So, but my ultimate goal, and I've done CSAs in the past, they're amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And I follow a lot of the farms online, and just such good people, like such happy places. Their animals are so happy, and it just,
It did. So on Butcher Box, you could get grass-fed beef.
you get, yep.
Is it all grass-fed beef on Butcher Box?
I won't say, I'm not positive about that, but the stuff that we get is all grass fed, but I'm not sure like if that's
Everyone's right.
policy that they,
I do a
across the
I
board.
do one called Walden Local,
Yeah.
and so it's pretty cool because it's, you know, from my understanding, Butcher Box is like a little bit bigger of a company. It's you know, it's nationwide, and I actually tried to get. I started a subscription service called BeeWell Box, which is pretty cool. I got people local honey, and in a similar vein.
Yeah.
You know, people like beef better than they like honey, so it wasn't quite as big as Butcher Box, but it was definitely very successful. And I always tried to get the guy, I forget his name now, the Butcher Box guy. He was one of the first people who I tried to get on the podcast, and you know, we just never, we sent a couple of emails back and forth, but never ended up making it happen. But the Walden Local is a great program, and you should definitely look into it because it's all grass-fed beef, and it's all, you know, you see it, and it's
We got to support our local farmers.
It's it, yeah.
And I do believe that, like, you know, God or the universe, whoever you want to believe in, for me it's God. The food that is grown near you is what your body needs. It's making what you need, like it's your medicine. You
100%. I would even venture to guess that maybe, and I don't want to say this because I love avocados, but like,
I know, I hear you.
Yeah.
Some of these like things that we, that are not right. Like even like a mango, it's like, okay, is that something that we definitely need? It's not something that would have naturally grown near here. I don't know.
I tell you what, I have
You know what I'm
mangoes and
saying?
avocado in my smoothie every single morning.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
with the naked whey protein.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
mango,
I mean,
frozen mangoes.
and then look at us looking like we feel guilty about it. Like, no, I
I love it. There's two people who are eating fucking pretty clean and saying
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
giddy
yeah.
up, and oh yeah, well, are we eating too many mangoes or too many
in a
avocados?
perfect world, I would love to eat off the land, you know, within a, I don't know, 20-mile radius of where I live. That would, I think that would give you the best.
I think it's
nutrition
100 miles,
or something.
200-mile radius.
Okay, 200-mile radius.
Because we're no, hear this out. I have
No,
good,
it looks like you thought about it. You
oh,
tell
I thought
me.
I created a company around this, right? Like, as
Perfect.
people with BeeWell Box, with the
Okay,
honey
yeah.
subscription
So then you
service, because
tell
it
me.
was the model was like, you want honey that's local to you, as local as possible,
Okay.
and that's like what the old adage is, right? And I created a new system where I'm saying, no, that's actually not the case, because your business is in Dover.
Yeah, we travel.
We travel. You know, the average human being travels 50 miles to 100 miles to 200 miles from their location. And so we're getting all these different microenvironments.
Yeah.
And so the best way
Okay.
from honey, and I think from food, is to expose yourself to all of it.
Okay.
So not to limit yourself to 20 miles, it's, you know, 200 miles, I think is where I would, it's arbitrary, but I
Okay.
think 200 is a good number.
I'm with you on that. I'm following that logic.
Yes. Okay. Giddy up, because it makes me, and realistically, I think maybe, you know, in this day and age, I'm probably getting 50% or more of my calories from places that are within 200 miles of my house.
Nice.
You know, the mangoes and the avocado, those are, you know,
Yeah.
if I took those out.
So you have to travel once or twice a year really far away then.
Yes. And two, I wonder sometimes, like, I love the Northeast, and it would be hard to rip me away from here, but maybe I belong for somewhere where the avocados, maybe my body wants that a little bit,
Well,
you know?
and then that's okay. So that's another thought too. Like, where's your heritage from? I've thought about that stuff too, right?
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time. And you want to know where I think about it a lot. So my heritage is Polish, Eastern European,
Yeah.
and they love fermented foods. They love cabbage. They love carrots. They love, you know, those type of foods, and, you know, and ground beef. And so I've been getting more into that, and, you know, eating a lot more cabbage lately. And, you know, it just makes me feel good.
And Northern European, Irish, Norwegian, and Dutch.
Okay.
So I don't know. I think about like with Norwegian stuff, like the fish and things like that. I try to,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And then potatoes with the Irish. So I don't feel guilty about that.
Don't feel guilty. Don't feel guilty. Put some Greek yogurt in there next time, you know, a
Okay.
little bit of raw cheese and some
Yep.
Greek yogurt, a little
Yeah.
grass-fed butter.
Perfect.
Yeah, giddy up. Um, are you share a lot of this stuff? That's what's cool about your practice, right? I think and this is me, you know, perceiving, but when you go to a traditional insurance-based model, and it's really fun right now, guys. Like I'm actually, I'm engaging in all types of physical therapy, and you know, to understand, to really figure out. My goal is to figure out is this model broken? Is the insurance model so broken that it cannot be, or was it created this way so that it's impossible? Is it going to become impossible soon? It's not. People are still getting some care, like you said, but I think that's declining.
Yeah.
It's declining as profits need to go up, as more, you know, as more people seek PT, as more people probably need PT, and just understanding that that is like when people come into your, you're talking to them about diet. You know, when I go to the insurance based model, it's created this way, but they're busy and they have to. You know, put me on an exercise bike or put me on an exercise ball, and I'm determined and you know, can have some understanding of my own body, and so I'm gonna work on it. I'm gonna work it while I'm there. But they're not really talking to me about my diet, and they're not talking to me about what I'm doing. You know, for other movement or anything. And I would venture to guess that, you know, because that's how it was when we were just doing kind of like a trial thing with me and you, and I came in and we were talking about that stuff. And so,
Yep.
you know, when you
Yeah.
have a client come in, you guys are going through all this type of stuff,
Yeah.
the whole body system.
Yeah. I want to know, yeah, like what you're eating, how much protein you're getting, how's your sleep, how are your stress levels, what does your day look like? Yeah, all of that stuff. And really being able to dig into it and spend time with people. I think the other piece is like, it's a full hour, but you don't always get a full hour when you're in the insurance-based model. And if I don't have a client right after, you stay a little extra, you know, like people can stay a little extra and we can chat more about it, you know, and I can really kind of dig into what's going on because, yeah, I think part of the medical system was siloing everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was PT too. Like it was like, all right, let's look at this tendon, and then you got a doctor's order that was like, oh, we're gonna treat, you know, this knee, this tendon only, you know. But like I'm like, oh, but like, you know, your neck is all twisted up, and that all affects down the chain, and all of a sudden, like I'm helping people, you know, move your neck more freely, and all of a sudden they feel more connected to their leg, and then their knees healing up, you know. So it's all connected. Wow. It's not.
Who would have thought?
I know, and same with the food. Or you find out that like somebody's not healing, and you're like, they're like, no, I think about protein. All right, you think about it, or have you actually ever tracked it? And usually, when you have somebody write down how much protein they're getting, they're usually under eating it a lot. You know.
What are the protein goals? What should be? I've heard for people like me, it should be I should be getting my kilograms in weight, and that's how many grams of protein I should be getting a day.
I do grams per pound. So yeah, like
grams per pound.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's grams per pound. So it's not. It's double of what I was thinking.
Yeah, I mean that would be what you could shoot for. I mean, it should also be the weight that you want to be. So sometimes people are a little overweight and they want to get a little underweight,
right, yeah.
Or like go down. So they, that you can shoot for your ideal goal weight in grams. That's probably, but even if you're shooting for that, most people are gonna go a little bit under. So I'd rather people shoot a little high with it.
Yeah, for me, I don't think I'll ever be a guy who's tracking the amount of exact grams that I'm having.
I don't every day. For sure. I think that it has some utility. Do that for a few weeks. See what you're actually doing.
Yeah, I probably should do it. I probably should do it. No, I think I will. I think I will if I'm committed, and maybe you'll help me along the path. Because I go to intuition, So like my body felt like, I was like, I want to get stronger. I want to get stronger. So I started doing another protein. I added the whey, and I started doing another protein shake. So now I will eat. Like more, I'm eating more protein than I ever have, and I'm getting stronger than I ever have, which is good good for me and I'm happy
Yeah.
about it.
If everything's working great and you're not like trying to heal up an injury or anything or
Yeah. Well, always.
so if you are, and that could be one of the missing pieces. It could be also your sleep. It could be also,
There's so many things. It's
stress.
the whole body system.
I end up seeing a lot of people that like own their own business. They're busy. They're,
Cortisol, adrenaline up, running high.
yeah. And so it's important to address all those things. And a lot of the tools I give people could be to just help downregulate their nervous system, so that because I think our bodies are incredible and they heal themselves if we give them what they need.
Yeah. I've actually had a really cool experience that maybe you have done it before, that you should seek out and check out. It's called, I'm going to have the chiropractor come on the show. Her name's Dr. Alexander Fleming, and she does network neural chiropractic.
Cool.
So it's not, where you would think physical adjustment hard, she will touch the back left of your ear and then slide her hand down your sacrum and hit your ischial tuberosity with like the lightest touch. And then your body will understand that it needs to, that you've been holding tension up here behind your, this right ear, and your body will start to come back around and adjust on its own. Like it's wild. It's like the body, you hear these cracks and the body starts to adjust on its own. And I think it's about getting back to that parasympathetic nervous state where the body can do the healing.
Yeah.
It's cool that somebody can help juice that up and can get us to that point. And I think that, she's doing that with like, this touch and this understanding of this body system that not many people have understanding of. You're doing the same thing with PT, because like, most times when I went into a PT place, it's like a very movement based, like do this exercise. And when I went to see you, the first thing that we worked on was breath work. It's like, oh, that's powerful, because I know that the breath, when you get in tune with the breath, you can heal everything. You can heal your body, and you can really know, I see people that the breath was what really like awoken me from this. I wanted to dance, and I couldn't dance because every time I went to go dance, I would vomit because I was subconsciously nervous of what everyone was thinking of me. And that led me to finally figuring that out after vomiting a few times, that, if I breathe through my nose and I can control that feeling of anxiety.
Yep.
And I tell my wife, and I go home, I danced without vomiting. She's like, yeah, man, it's called yoga. I'm trying to get you to come for 5 years, come along the journey.
Yeah.
So then the next day I go to yoga and I learn breath work. And like that understanding of me then seeing people, like I would interact with folks and I would say, whoa, that person just held their breath for like a minute and a half when we were talking. Like, why did they do that? And then I noticed like, oh my God, I'm doing that too sometimes. And then I got deeper into it and I realized like, oh man, I can actually be comfortable and not have anxiety with holding my breath up to 5 minutes. If I'm in certain places and my body's okay and it can, can heal and everything's all right.
Yeah.
And so just understanding how powerful the relationship is to our breath. And when you started that within your practice, I was like, dang.
No, I mean, so I heard somebody talking about this once, but like, what's the very first thing you do when you're born? You take your first breath. It's just, it's so powerful. And on so many levels with your nervous system, just connecting inside your body and getting connected with how you're feeling. Whenever anybody's in pain, and I start with the breath, like that almost immediately just takes that pain level down so many notches. And then I use it too, like we experienced where, like we're trying to say stretch our chest, trying to stretch our pecs out, and like people are stretching forever, getting in the doorways. And then you take like a really good breath where you let your like ribs expand all the way up in the top of your chest. And all of a sudden like, oh, I don't feel like I need to stretch my chest so much anymore. Like you stretch from the inside out.
Let me introduce you to Elevate, a premium functional mushroom company focused on supporting your highest potential. They offer a range of powerful supplements crafted from the finest medicinal fungi designed to naturally enhance your well-being. Elevate carries everything from mushroom tinctures, capsules, and teas to their delicious mushroom-infused coffees. All of their products are made with USA-grown mushrooms and contain only wild medicinal mushrooms, no psychoactive compounds. I personally use their focus tincture every day and love their chai tea blend. It's my go-to for a calming yet energizing boost. Elevate's products support mental clarity, immunity, and overall vitality. They ship nationwide, so whether you're new to functional mushrooms or already a fan, Elevate has something for you. Check them out at shopelevatemushrooms.com, where you will find a detailed description of each product and experience the difference for yourself. Yeah, it's like wringing your body from the inside out. Like it's like, or expansing it from the inside out. Like I'll get into periods of time where I can, with breath, like looking in the mirror, I can make my body almost 1.25, 1.3, 1.4 times the size that it is. It's like just by adding this breath, and just like, whoa, look at this whole thing expand. And then I can take it down and
You know how
bring
many
it back.
times we breathe a day?
How many?
20,000 or more.
20,000 or more.
Yeah.
It's,
So getting a good breath is important.
it's
Our diaphragms are, I think, like one of our most important muscles. Like,
yeah. You were teaching me a lot about the diaphragm and how important it was, and I believe I told you about my nose, right? Like about the shift in my nose. So goes back to this is a great story because it goes to what we're talking about with the siloed health system, right?
Okay.
And so my nose I have what people would call a deviated septum.
Okay. Yeah.
So if you guys can see here, giddy up this nose, this side here, my right side is big and left is, maybe we'll put some pictures on for you guys so you can see it. But so I it's just something that I in my brain, as I've gone through this this process of intuition and understanding, I'm almost certain it's because of some type of disalignment in my body. It has to do with my spine and my CNS and the connection of how I'm trying to exist in my body with the wrong kind of tension. So I go to the ENT specialist, the ear, nose, and throat specialist, and I tell them about this, and I say, and this was about a month and a half ago, where I was just starting to think, like, I know I can heal this on my own, and I'm going to heal this on my own, but I want to just see what the traditional medical system says. And so I have my, and this is no offense to this, ear, nose, and throat specialist. Maybe I'll end up doing surgery with him someday. I don't know. I'm on the path right now, and he was open and honest. And, I presented that to him, and he was like, yeah, maybe yoga could help. Maybe it could,
That's nice that he even said that.
Well, yeah, and he said it was temporary, right? He says it's probably temporary relief. It's probably temporary relief.
Yeah.
It's not going to be long term. Your adenoid, is coming in, and that's, you're not going to be able to fix that. We're going to need to do surgery. You need to go get a CT. So I'm going to go do the CT. That's next month. But I'm frustrated because I wish I got the CT immediately because I've already made progress. I've already made serious progress.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've really discovered, and I'm curious what you think about this, talking regarding to breath. So for the last month, I've been taping my mouth shut.
Love that. I literally was just thinking of a story. So yeah, my friend, she was doing the monitor where she could tell like sleep apnea, what was happening at night. She was getting like a lot of sleep apnea. And so she was on the list to get her little CPAP machine or whatever. And, but that was taking forever with insurance and whatever. And so I'm like, do the mouth tape. And then she does the little nose,
breathe right
strips and like has fixed it.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah. So, I mean, just even doing them, which I've done for periods of time too. And I think you can train your body and you don't need to do it forever, but like you'll start to do more nose breathing automatically. But yeah, it like opens up the passageways in there.
With the mouth taping, you're saying you've done it to become a better nose breather.
Yeah.
Yeah. It opens.
I remember I was resistant at first because like it sounds crazy to people, right? Like, but I'm like, it's a little piece of tape. It's not like we're like, like tape.
Yeah.
You can pull it off in the night if you're totally panicking or something like that.
You're not going to panic. Like I was like, I'm willing to try anything, but I'm also a guy who like, I don't like claustrophobia, claustrophobia.
Well, and you have a deviated septum, so there was some nose breathing issues.
And there was nose breathing issues, right? Exactly. I could only breathe out of one side of my nose. And that's how I thought. I've literally been only breathing out of one side of my nose for, maybe the last 10 years or so. And just bringing awareness to that and understanding that I can actually affect this system.
Yeah.
And the mouth breathing is like, man, it's so bad. It's so bad. Learning what it does to your posture and how it pushes your teeth.
Yeah.
And how it just
changes your whole shit. And then there's tooth decay from the breathing through the
tooth decay, and you won't even realize it until you tape your mouth shut for a week because you wake up and you're like, huh,
Well,
want me? Come and get me. I can fucking breathe, baby. And my brain is so oxygenated right now. Like, what do you want to go do? Run a marathon? Fine, let's do it.
Well, you're in a fight or flight state all the time when you're mouth breathing too. So that helps that parasympathetic state when you're nose breathing. There's so many benefits. You're utilizing oxygen way better. You're getting your diaphragm to actually, like when you breathe in through the nose, that diaphragm can actually do its job. It can suction down and go all the way back up, fully inflate the lung. It's so, I know. It's like its own little high.
It's own little high. It really is. And, I've heard you mention this, on another podcast, and it's funny that I actually came to this on my own, and I should have just started talking about it before he did. But Andrew Huberman calls he calls it a sympathetic sigh.
Yeah.
You breathe in through your nose, and then you do 2 exhales.
It's a double inhale.
Double inhale through the nose, and then an exhale through the mouth.
Yeah.
And that practice, you want to connect to your parasympathetic nervous system?
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah.
Do that. Go foam roll. Go have some type of sensory experience while doing that. That's how I do it.
Yep.
And it's like that's where the healing really takes place. And it's even better if you purse your lips when you do your exhale.
Mm-hmm.
Bring those ribs even into the into a better place.
Yeah.
So it's just
children do it. You see a kid like is worked up crying, and then they that little sniffle that they do.
Yeah.
That's the double inhale, exhale. Dogs do it when they're sleeping sometimes. Like it's a natural thing.
That's so cool about the kid thing. I never realized that. I remembered. I'm an emotional guy. I'm June 30th. I'm Cancer. I'm about as empathetic as they come. So I was doing a lot of crying growing up. Two older brothers too. 5 and 6 years older than me, putting me through the ringer. And I can vividly remember.
Yeah. Regulating your nervous system.
Oh, it's so cool how we have this innate ability within us, and it's sad that people that people's jobs and their livelihood and their families depend on a system where somebody is going to tell me that it's the only way through is to for me to cut into your face and to do this, and for us to, and it's like, dude, that's not the answer.
The other thing it made me think of was with like tooth decay. So we talked about that a little bit, but can you heal your cavities? And so I believe with like hydroxyapatite or xylitol, like I'm not, because the studies aren't being done because it's not as lucrative as drilling and giving you a crown and whatever else. I think you can. I was so mad. So I was seeing a traditional dentist for a while, for my whole life, but then, and I realized okay, there's some other things out there that I think I can heal. So I had a small cavity, and she was going to, had an appointment to drill it. And I started using these other things. I'm like, will you check it before you drill it? She was so annoyed with me. She was like, I was like, just check.
Take a
maybe,
peek.
I mean, I've heard of these things. People can heal themselves, okay? It was too, nowadays, I don't even, well, I probably should see a dentist. Things are fine, and I didn't have any insurance for a while, which fine too, as well, because
you got to go through it to go through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, giddy up.
But
and you got people that can take care of you.
Yeah, but I think we can heal almost anything naturally. I do.
The teeth. I think we can heal the teeth too.
I think we can heal the teeth.
I'm doing it. I'm actually doing it.
Are you using hydroxyapatite?
Yeah, I've been using hydroxyapatite for probably about 3 years.
Yeah. And I feel like I haven't had any, I had so much tooth sensitivity before. Sorry, I get worked up about this stuff. Oh, that means you need more fluoride in your mouth. They're coating my teeth in fluoride. And I have a thyroid condition. Do you think that may be potentially? I don't know. I mean, that's what.
Yeah.
So
you have wonderful
and
teeth.
I always had this tooth sensitivity then anyway. So, but now I don't.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's like I was in the system. I have I have to get an implant at some point because I have a missing tooth. Over here.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating because it is a thing that you want with confidence. You want to have all your teeth, and it's like at some point somebody just told me that this was a good idea to rip this tooth out of my head. And I don't know if it was. This is just I got into a car accident, a really bad car accident. My teeth were, I had some type of brain slam.
Yeah.
And instead of 2 years later, he's like, oh, that tooth is messed up. We got to get it out of there. And I just listened, because I thought that I was supposed to listen to the dentist,
Yeah.
right? And now I'm on a different path where I'm definitely healing my own teeth for sure.
I haven't gone down the rabbit hole of the mouth, but there's a lot to the alignment of teeth and taking a tooth out. Or I was recently listening to some stuff about like root canals, and when they do a tooth extraction where they take out like the like all the nerves and like in the blood vessels, and then they give you antibiotics, which you're never going to it's never going to actually get to that site because they've removed a lot of
Nerves.
a lot of the tissue in there that would normally absorb the antibiotics and work there.
Yeah, people have to understand that, like, what
So you're
brings things
harboring
to your
a lot
body
of
is blood.
infection there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, usually people end up having problems. I don't know. I haven't gone down the rabbit hole. There's even like physical therapists that will, really hone in on like that, and I probably will at some point get into that as well. But
Yeah, and you should, and then, or, just be like me. I'm putting my mouth guard in, taping my mouth shut, putting my breathe right strip on, and I'm telling you, in 6 months, I'm going to be able to, to heal myself. And, or we'll see where I'm at in 6 months. I bet that my breathing, because I can already tell that it's like 30% better. We'll see if that shape actually changes even more, because it has changed. Even the right side of the nostril is growing. And it's like that, which just makes sense, right? We're the skeletal structure.
Oh, yeah.
And that if we do something, it's going to force us to go out. It's going to put us in disalignment. It's going to create problems in our organs.
I think we talked about this before too, just with our bodies are constantly like changing shape. Like there's tension and compression, and we're like these, no matter, where we are in space, whether we're underwater or whatever, like we hold all our bodies in these perfect little tension compression little bubbles, and they're like, it's constantly changing versus, based on like how you're sitting all the time, what inputs you're giving it, like we're constantly changing.
What maybe just how your brain is holding the tension, like how it's holding, in one way, and then creates a physical disformity. And it's magical. It's magical to see. And that you're helping people kind of unwind that is super powerful. Because like the insurance-based system, another story, it's like, you have to treat the knee, right? Like the left knee, and that's where the problem is. And you come in, that's what the doctor's orders are. So they can only do that. And then, so for me, I'm like, well, yeah, I said my left knee's messed up. I went and got your $5,000 MRI. The person who runs the MRI sees me for 10 minutes and reads it and says, oh, no tears, no nothing. It's like, well, I know when I was in high school, I partially tore the ACL on this leg. We know that's a fact. I still have the imaging. I can show you the imaging, and I know how to read that imaging because I have some type of understanding of having to learn this, and being taught from other people in school. Not that I just studied imaging by myself, but I had people who I had access to who could let me know. And she said, yeah, there's nothing wrong there because she can't do surgery. That person can't do surgery, so we'll just put you into PT. We'll put you into PT. And I'm also trying to tell her, like, yeah, that's the long-term injury, but I'm actually here because my right knee, I hurt it this year, probably doing some type of compensation for the left knee. I'd like to, explore that. And it's like,
that must be so annoying for her.
Yeah, so annoying. And she's just like, go get another MRI if you need it. And I'm like,
and again, they're busy because they have to, make all their wheels turn and to make the money that they need to make to stay open. I mean, it's all these are business models to some degree. They have to see a certain amount of people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so even like, these wonderful PTs in the system, they may recognize that maybe it's coming from something else. They have to, write up, big story and all the backing up for it. And then they have to like call the doctor. They have to try to get a hold of the doctor who's also busy. And, then they're playing like phone tag to like, no, we need to treat this, I mean, so sometimes you can get the right care, but it takes a lot of like frustration and extra work. And a lot of they don't have the time for it.
Yeah, most people, no, the patient doesn't have the time for it. The doctor doesn't have the time for it. And nobody has the time for it because they're not, it takes so much extra, and you need to like really hone in. You need to take responsibility for yourself is what it really comes down to, is like we need to have responsibility and not just outsource this responsibility to our job or whoever's providing us with this insurance maybe, because that's where it's a turnstile, man. It's like so many people coming in, that PT, she said, or that was the I think she was an NP, surgical NP. And she said to me, like, yeah, I only can see you for 20 minutes because that's what my schedule allows. And I like to be respectful of all the patients. And I'm like, man, like 20 minutes, that's pretty quick. I don't think that that's worth, $210 that you charged by insurance for that. But there's so many people that need to be paid and so many things that need to be, and never mind the shareholders, if it's a big corporation or, if it is a nonprofit, who knows what's going on there. So yeah, it's the siloed system and it's not people's fault, because it's a system that's been created this way, maybe by some people that thought that it would be helpful for them for money or, power, influence, whatever. Or maybe it was,
and they provide some quick fixes that people like.
Yeah.
What I do isn't quick always.
Right. Yeah. What's like the general time frame that you see a patient for?
I would say probably like 4-ish months or so would be like a general, but it really, really varies. Sometimes I see people and they're better within 4 to 6 visits, and I've seen them for, say, a month and a half. And then for other people, we start to unwind, one area, and then like, then they're telling me about another area because they feel good. And I'm like, fine, cool. Like, because of my model, we can jump to another area and work on that for a while. So a lot of times I end up seeing people a lot longer.
How about that, right? Like that's the true epitome of it is right there. It's like, I come in, I know my body, you know my body, you're the person who's working on it. And we know this is why I came in here for this left knee injury. But now we know that like there's something going on with the right knee and we've really worked on this left knee. I can't do that. It doesn't matter. Sorry. Let's just keep working on this left knee, or, we'll get you another 10 appointments for the left knee, but we won't even consider that as a whole body system. Whereas you in an instant can make that switch.
Yeah.
You can get people to come and say, no, next session, we're going to work on this a little bit differently because this has come up and we notice that this is, your function, your mobility going towards that. We all know how important strength training is for long-term health, but it can be hard to know where to start. I was in the same spot a year ago. You want to make sure you're doing exercises right, avoiding injury, and getting results, but it's easy to feel lost without a plan. That's when I found On Target Fitness. At On Target, you get a custom strength program, personalized attention in a small group setting, and the nutrition coaching you need for real lasting change. In the year I've been working out there, I've gotten stronger, more mobile, and more confident. My form has improved, and even something as simple as walking feels better. The group energy keeps me motivated, and every workout is fun. On Target just opened a new location in Kingston. Now you've got even more options to experience their amazing approach. If you're ready for lasting change, head to www.ontargetfit.com and schedule your session today.
I think the most important thing you said was, I know my body, and then you said that I knew your body. Being able to connect with people, and so like one of my values, like connection, commitment, trust, harmony. These are like my core values of my business. But being able to connect, with people, and then like helping them to and them having that trust in me, they can like tell me what they're feeling in their body. Like a lot of times, I know that we're like on the right track when people start sharing, and they tell me what's going on with their body. Like we've had that time together. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes, it makes tons of sense.
Most of the time, the right thing that we're treating is something they finally said, and I'm like, yes, I can 100% see how that's contributing. You know what I mean? Like and I'm always like, you just told me. They're like, I think this is what the problem is. I'm like, you knew what it was. Yes. You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying because the power in that, like people, your own bodies,
Yes.
you know it, go towards that, like do everything you can to go towards that and to know that you are in control of it. It's going to take time. It can be a journey, and you can have people who can help you along the way, to create that connection and then to go on the path with you. And most people would know that, like, I feel like that's how we figured out dysfunction, and we figured stuff out was because there was people back in the day, ancestrally, that were healers, and that they, there was some type of discourse going back and forth. We didn't have imaging, we didn't have any of this stuff, but we were able to figure out a lot, like the practice of yoga, how physical therapy became a thing, before imaging and before, like, I don't even know where it goes back to, but we were obviously doing physical therapy forever.
Yeah.
We've been doing this forever. It's like, hey, this you're doing this way. This is going to help you, feel better in your body. And so, just returning to that intuition that, that's powerful, that you've had that experience with people and that you can share that with people, because most people just think that the relationship with a clinician is that the clinician is working on them, and that it's not a, and that's what I hate about, pharmaceuticals, is it's
Yeah.
like, you go into a situation where you have some type of dysfunction, and sometimes it's great. Sometimes it really works. But a lot of the times it doesn't. You go into a situation where you are sick, you need some type of, relief, and you have somebody else give you a medicine that is going to, maybe do some things in your body, but there's no connection. There's no connection there. There's no, that the person is not, them, whether they feel a different way or not, when they take the drug is going to have, a pharmacological effect in their body. And that they have no control over that besides putting the pill in their mouth, and the doctor has no control over that besides writing the prescription for the pill. And that's not, it's not conducive to what we're talking about.
Yeah. No, I think when I spend enough time with people, what's really going on comes out, because we've created that connection and that trust, and they know I'm committed to them getting better, and they'll finally come in and be like, yeah, I'm working 70 hours a week, and and like, oh, so we need to work on some nervous system down regulation. You're not sleeping at night. You know what I mean? Like those things that come out that they wouldn't have shared, and that are big, and that are an impediment to their healing.
Yeah, the trust is huge. So many people are going to come in, and that the system has created that, right? It like gives you a questionnaire, answer everything on this questionnaire, even though the clinicians aren't even ask you about anything on this questionnaire. So what incentive do you have to even fill it out honestly?
Yeah.
Then there's a lot of shame and guilt. It might be a shame and guilt around working 70 hours a week. It might have, shame and guilt of not moving at all, not moving enough, or sitting at your desk, too much. It might be shame or guilt, from the way that you eat or whatever. But we just don't. We have such a disconnection from, being able to, truly help people and truly get to the the root cause of what, where their dysfunction is.
People are always trying to like apologize to me, like, I'm sorry that I'm talking so much about what's going on in my body. Like they'll, like, as we're moving and doing stuff, they're like, this is what I feel, and I'm like, I want to know all that stuff. Like, I'm so, like, when we were together, you're like, you're telling me. I love that. And and that I'm getting so much good information, and you're getting good information talking about it. And, so it's sad. Like, I'm like, this is exactly why I do what I do. Don't ever apologize for it. I love it. And, but yeah, I think with a lot of, like, you're supposed to just be quiet and do what they tell you to do. And there's so many things going on in their head, and they want to express about what they're feeling in their body, and it's therapeutic. It helps.
It's therapeutic, and it helps, and it might even be some people are probably going to physical therapy and getting the opposite, the traditional insurance-based model, and they're getting the opposite of what they need, because they're going there and they're in pain, they're in some type of dysfunction, and they want to be able to express it and to figure that out, but it's not linear. It's not, everyone's not the same, and they can never get that out because they think that they have to, so they might do some exercises. They're going to get disempowered, disempowered to ever make that change. And like, to the trust, if someone comes in, they can be honest with you, like, hey, yeah, guess what? Like, I've been drinking too much. It's like, oh, well, yeah, that's something. And you as a clinician can just say, like, hey, that's not necessarily my giddy up, but maybe that's something you should look into, and something, maybe this is you're eating this way, stop, maybe that's something you should look into. That is something that you could help with, and maybe you could help with the other stuff too. We're all a system. We're all one system, and it needs to be treated. There needs to be great communication and great, workings between clinicians. Do you work with anyone else and any other like holistic practitioners who?
Yeah, I have a really good friend who's a functional medicine nurse practitioner, Elise Greenfield. I'll give her a little shout out. So she's amazing. I have a really cool breathwork coach, Brenna, and she does like really, really cool like personal growth and breathwork stuff. So I'll direct people to different people in our. I'm looking to build that. There's some really cool like massage therapists that do Reiki. So yeah,
You do, yeah. I'll help you. I'll help you build that.
yeah.
Giddy up. So the
I would love. I don't know if people go to like events anymore, but I would keep envisioning that like because my space is fairly big. We talked about that. Like, hey, let's bring the practitioners and have people come meet their holistic practitioners or something like that. And then as well as probably people want to just go to like a website or Instagram and see like a list of people. I don't know.
Well, you want to know what? I think it'd be great to, like at your space, you have big enough where you could get, some people in there and you could do a class. People are moving their body together. And then, because that's the best part about the whole reason that we do yoga is to move the body so that we can then sit in silence and be able to take in and be able to understand. And so to get people to move their body a little bit first, functionally, and then to have those conversations afterwards, I think would be huge for the community. And I think a lot of people would take that in.
Yeah.
You have somebody who's coming to talk about maybe it's a series where, this one's more about nutrition, and then the next one's more about self-care, through movement, and you could just have all these, great, holistic practitioners that are coming about. 'Cause some of the testing I feel like is pretty important, so like having a good functional medicine,
Yes.
A good,
Yeah.
I haven't gone too much down this path myself. I'm looking to do it more and to test myself more and to understand, beyond just the, what they can do in the insurance-based, model. And, do you do any of that? Do you guys do any of that like collaboration where you're having people test and then kind of seeing what they're, does that matter for a PT?
So you're like, if I send people to Elise to get some testing done of things?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, for sure, like if anybody's near that perimenopause time, I'm wanting to send them to her to like check out where they are with their hormones. And that can be very young nowadays. Again, I don't know if it's everything, right? It's like our environment in general, but like people are getting their hormones are like way off early. And there's a lot of things you can just correct, whether it be a diet thing. And sometimes people need a replacement therapy. So she can help with all of those things. So yeah, I've definitely referred to her. And sometimes people like, so there's other, like, I think our digestive tract is like so important. Our gut,
The microbiome.
so healing the gut microbiome is super important, and then that's something that she helps people with. So yeah, I would love to like have, I already utilize her quite a bit, and I would love to have more resources to help, because the people that are coming to see me are often like, yeah, we're all looking to like see these holistic practitioners that are going to find the root cause of things, that are going to really get that deep healing.
Yeah, I think it's all like the gut, the gut is so important. And, having more practitioners, talk about this, talk about it. And, I have a good friend named Dr. Sabine Hazen, and she wrote a book called Let's Talk Shit.
Okay.
And she's like the, called the microbiome queen, the C. diff queen. She's run, thousands of trials through FDA, with the microbiome and doing all types of like, mammalian fecal transplant where they're taking, healthy poop from someone and transplanting
Crapsules.
it. Yes. And so there's so much benefit that we need to learn from being able to heal our gut, because the body can heal itself. And so allowing that digestive, and it's not just, it's the gut, the microbiome, the digestive tract, the pancreas,
I got really
the
into
stomach.
it for a little while. I was like making my own yogurt with like L-reuteri, because there's some like really cool probiotics that you can grow out in yogurt and then eat. So
yeah, was it pretty successful? Were you able to?
I did that for a while, and then I got retested, and it was established in my gut for a while. I don't know if it still is, and I fell off because it's a little bit of a process. It's but I think all that stuff's really cool and important.
And you want to know what's sad about that? Is so like Sabine has tested, during her, her Giddy Up, she's went and tested, of like the 19 big yogurt brands that are out there, organic kefir, there's one. There's
what is
one.
it?
Yeah, I will tell you off air, but
Yeah.
I
No,
want
it's
them to
okay.
pay. I want them to pay me first. And
Okay.
I've been reaching out to them, telling them that,
Okay.
hey guys, you have the good yogurt. You have the good yogurt.
Yeah.
You have the bifidobacteria, and all these other companies don't. And you should be marketing this, and you should let me do it for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want. Yeah, they're. It's good. It's good, and I will definitely share it with you.
Okay.
I think she's probably shared it with people at this point. But I remember when she told me at first, she was like, "Wow, yeah, there's not nobody knows about this. Nobody knows that this is a thing, and that a lot of our food, we're at a point now where we can start to figure some of this stuff out, and we should be figuring it out. But it's so convoluted. It's so convoluted in what we should be studying.
It is.
Why we're studying this.
Yeah.
Sad.
No, I know, and I that just one of the things that when you were talking about like practitioners that can help you with things, like the whole peptide world. Like I think there's a lot of utility in that. But like figuring it out is crazy. I keep trying to get one of my practitioner friends to do it, to like, but I don't know. I think there's a lot of like.
So you don't know anyone who's doing it currently?
I don't know anybody that's doing peptides. Do you?
Well, you want to know what
I know people that are doing peptides, but like but they're not getting guidance.
No,
from
get
somebody.
guidance from it, right? Yeah, exactly. And I think that there's some, that I would, because people have been talking to me about it recently, and I'm super interested in it, and so I want to find those people. And I've heard that some people, in Portsmouth, maybe from the Diadamo Clinic, so I'm going to look into them and see if they can, if they're going in that way.
Yeah, and I think there's some concierge people that do it and stuff, but I just feel like I don't have anybody that I can send people to
right.
And I'm fine doing my own research and stuff, but like not everybody is, and it's kind of it seems like a wild west world still a little bit with it.
Well, you want to know what, and that actually, like, to another point, is the holistic movement. It is so great and so awesome, and I'm so glad that we're talking about it.
Yeah. We talked about this a little bit before.
But at the same time,
wouldn't it be nice to know? Like, here I am. I have some methylene blue in my drink right now, but
right, exactly. Do we know if it's good or not? It's like, and that's the thing. And like, it's so funny because now, methylene blue is, I feel like that was even like 3 months ago. And now it's like, right.
But still, for you and I, because we follow this stuff.
Yeah, right. No, exactly.
Other
right.
people, they think like I wouldn't even. Yeah.
No, they
don't tell people normally.
That's the whole thing. Exactly. I don't, and it's like, I think that we got to start studying this stuff. Let's start looking at it and having third-party tested stuff that is good. Because like the supplements, it can create an environment where people do take advantage. And that's the problem is, maybe methylene blue is good. Maybe a good source methylene blue is good for some people. Let's figure out who that is. Let's figure out, we know what drugs are good for people. And
it's so hard to get good research on stuff though, as you know. I mean,
it's so hard to get good research.
Since you know the pharmaceutical world, like it has to be able to make money, and then there's, what's going to be supported to get research is going to be the things that can be patented, and so it's a catch-22 of like, we want to have it maybe researched, but honestly, if we can't make money off of it, the research will show that it doesn't work, because that's what
the research, right?
Bigger giants would.
So it's like, go towards your own intuition. If you think that if you're not feeling good, maybe some people have told you that this might work for you, and they're trusted people. They're not just some fucking guy that you're listening to online, like go to somebody who you can trust, and then maybe that person learned from somebody online, because it is great that we can share a lot of this information, but there's a lot of bad stuff out there.
Yeah.
And so like, just, this worked well for this person for this case.
Yeah.
Methylene blue, like creatine. Creatine is a huge, everyone's on creatine now. And it's like, that's great. Like back in the day, like people talked about creatine, like it was in social athletic circles, for sure. But now it's like, everyone should be taking this, and maybe it's making your brain better too. It's like, well, let's study that. And if that's actually the case, then let's start getting it, having people understand and do it as public health. But there's going to be a lot of, because the pharmaceutical industry is going to lose power, and someone else is going to try to come in and take that power. There's going to be some bad actors and bad people who are trying to get us to, take supplements.
We have to learn how to navigate, like to some degree, everybody needs to learn how to navigate, like whether it be partly intuition, which we already talked about. But it's important to have a lot of resources that you can trust to look at, I guess is what I'm trying to say, you know? And then hopefully I guess it's hard because like I feel comfortable doing that because I've been in the medical world a long time, but there's so many people that, yeah, they have no idea where to start and who to trust. And
Yeah. So that's the problem. And that's kind of like what I would like to, I'm trying to become that for people, you know, a little bit like at least around here where it's like, hey, this is what I'm doing and this is what the people who I am surrounding myself are doing. And, you know, you don't have to do it, but you want to try it. There's avenues for you to try it. And, you know, this is what we're finding out, you know, about it. You know, like just as something as simple as like, you know, cold therapy. You know, something like that. You know, it doesn't always need to be supplement. You know, it doesn't need to be something that's exogenous, like from a you know, from a supplement standpoint or a plant standpoint. But there's just so much out there that it can be manipulated in a bad way, or it can really bring us growth. And you know, it's funny is like one of the things that I see this in. You know, we talked about it a little bit before the show, but and feel free not to, you know, if you don't want to discuss it, that's fine. But the like with psychedelics and mushrooms, you know, LSD, I think that you know these are very, very powerful tools that can help people with their body, with their mind, with their spiritual connection to the earth, to the universe, to each other. And it's this amazing, beautiful thing. And then at the same time, there are people who are, you know, manipulating that fact. And then on the other side of it, you know, using it for bad forces. And then there's other people who are, you know, ignoring all of that, ignoring and saying, oh, no, there's no way it could be good. There's no way it could bring benefit into the world. And like, to me, it's like, this is wild. We have this thing that is, you know, people can show you, we could study this very easily, but on that one we decide not to. You know, we decide, you know, there's very big swinging and effects that you could show and do out a study with, and it's like, so it just makes me wonder, you know, why are you know, there's this good thing that's out there that people can use and can use as a tool. It's can also create, you know, some negatives for sure, and it needs to have balance. But now, as I felt like it was going and there was being pushed into the light, there's also this other segment that's coming that's trying to, you know, make it seem like it's really bad.
Yeah. I mean, it meets my criterion of nature made it. We've been using it for centuries. Right?
I like that one.
And I have a personal family testimonial that my brother was suicidal, alcoholic and suicidal, and used mushrooms, like didn't use them at his own, just, you know, not under the guidance of anybody, but like it definitely helped push him, you know, out of that state. Yeah.
And he's doing good now?
He's in recovery now. Yeah.
We love it.
Yeah.
We love it. Like that. You know what's funny is I'm actually having you know, I'm doing 2 shows today, and I'm having later on today, you know, in the afternoon, you know, a young lady named Keely Ryan is coming in, and she does Plant Allied Recovery is the name of her business, and it's for people who are alcoholics or people who are addicts, and people who this is like, these are people that they could be also really manipulated, and you could create another addiction and all this other stuff, but also these are the people who need this. These are the people who you could help. Their brain is, something happened in their brain that, and I only know this because I've fucking been through it myself, baby. Giddy up. And so their brain started to, you know, got off, you know, just like the body got unbalanced at some point, and started to, you know, produce in this certain way to get us to go towards alcohol, towards drugs. And the, you know, psilocybin, the active ingredient in mushrooms, it allows you to perceive things differently. And so like, and that might just be like, because you wake up every day and you feel like I'm a piece of shit, you know, and that's what leads you to, you know, drinking. You know, you might microdose with mushrooms, or you might have a ceremony with mushrooms, and you will realize like, oh, like I've just been like saying that about myself. Like I'm really not that way. Like, yeah, sure. Sometimes when I drink, I'm bad and I don't want to do that anymore. But like me as a human, I'm not bad. I'm good. And then you can feel those feelings, and that you can actually like perceive them in your brain a little bit. And it's a key. The thing is, you don't need it. It's a tool, and you don't always need it to go to get there. But it's
quicker. Well, we're doing so little for that community that I'm open still to like all the suggestions for. I mean, I have a big heart for that community. My best friend, which you may want to talk to her sometime on the show. She's the executive director of Hope on Haven Hill.
Oh
Are you familiar
yeah.
with that
I'm I
organization?
yeah, I very much so know Hope on Haven Hill.
Yeah.
They do great work over there.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was like right alongside her as she was building to grow the business, and we were dealing. I think I shared with you in our own family. You know, getting people in recovery, whether it be my brother and some other people in my family. I don't have to share that. But I have a big heart for people that are trying to get into recovery. And I think, and I think a big piece of that, and I think for my brother too, is like a lot of times people have that spiritual awakening. And, I think it's kind of what you were speaking about. There's that mind shift that like, I'm not a bad person and there's something bigger than me. And that's just so powerful. And if people can be helped to get to that state with that, it's probably a little piece of the journey. I'm sure she's doing many other things to help hopefully support people.
It's a tiny piece of that's the thing is
Yeah.
it's a tiny piece. But
Getting people reconnected.
exactly. It's a tiny piece to help you integrate what you're learning, and if you do it appropriately, and to you, it's good to have people who are guiding you, but also like your brother, it is we're talking we're talking millennia.
Yeah.
Centuries and centuries and
Yeah.
centuries of
Yeah, yeah,
using
yeah.
this as medicine and using this relationship. And so if you safe, make sure that people know about it and that you feel safe in it and that, but we know how to use this medicine and we know how to interact with it. And so it's the perception that the perceptual shifts that you can have from it, not being a good person, not being a good person. It's like, I mean, it's frustrating because it's like, I'm a guy who's, I didn't even feel comfortable telling people that I occasionally smoked weed, because it helped me sleep. I was very afraid of that because of where my background had led me and being in pharmacy and it being so buttoned up and like, oh, I can't let anybody know that I had this problem. And then, it became public that I did have a problem, with drugs. And it's like, wow, this is something that is just so, it's hurting people from being able to get to the point. It's not even allowing people to get to the point where they can start to recover and start to know like I don't even it's like so funny because it's like I don't even look at. I know that some people need to do it this way, and I love them, and I can hold them, and I think that it's great. And go get it, go do your thing. But like for me, I don't never needed to go to AA or NA and tell my story every day and identify as this person. I feel like I'm healed. I'm healed from that, and the mushrooms have been such a integral part of that. I'm so healed that I know that I need to always be aware of that in my life, and that it's something that could happen and could shift, and things could change in my life, and circumstances, loss, hardship.
Yeah.
But I've learned, and I want to give myself credit too, because it wasn't just the mushrooms, right? It was me, but it showed me how I could, go from just abstaining and not doing that to becoming the human being that I am, and not having to associate that with myself, and saying that like I'm a wounded person who needed to, no, I'm Steve. This is my story, and this is how I healed this way, and now I don't feel like I need to take. I need to have understanding and precaution to certain things, but it's not even like I don't even think about this stuff. I don't think about it. I don't think about the need for it. I don't. Where before, 12 years ago, it might have controlled my daily life.
Yeah, I think if give me any more solutions, and I'm all about looking at them for sure.
Right. Yeah.
It's like addiction is such a sad place for people to be. Like anything that can alleviate that, I think is wonderful. So
yeah, it's so sad. It is so sad. And it's like, what happens to your body when you're in addiction, maybe you've gotten some people who have come afterwards maybe, and you can see that they have, there's healing processes that were, foregone, that didn't take place because the person's mental state, and, then your body, puts itself into a certain way. And so, have you seen it? Have you seen any of that?
In my physical therapy
in your
practice.
physical therapy practice?
So I'm actually going to be working with Hope on Haven Hill, doing physical therapy, like doing strength training with the girls there. Yeah,
L-
because I do think, and there are other groups that do specifically. I think there's a group called Phoenix or something like that in the area that has like sober exercise groups and stuff like that. Because I do think there's going to be a huge connection to setting goals, feeling good in your body. All that is so important. Yeah.
Like, thank you so much for doing that, because that's exactly what it is. It's exactly what you need. You and like having a little bit of routine, and that you can, you can go to the class and you can feel how it feels in your body afterwards, and you can go towards that and be like,
Mhm.
oh, that's like how there's no better tool. There's
Mhm.
no better tool than being
Yeah.
able to decrease tension or decrease stress within your own body. And the best way to do that is through movement
Mhm.
and creating strength. And I'm gonna cry, because that's like, so that's beautiful that you're doing that. And I do want to speak with the director of Hope on Haven Hill, because I think that that's a wonderful program. And
Yeah.
I drive by there and I see the the moms with their babies doing their thing. It's like, yeah, like giddy up. Like, that's what we need. We need that. And there's no judgment, because we've all gotten to gotten to places, but the fact that there's a support system in place to help these people, like, giddy up. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah. No, the women are so amazing, and Carrie has built it from the ground up. Just a mother's love, basically. It's she had some issues in her family, and just felt so strongly about getting this out to people, getting people, the ability to heal, and like the healing environment that she creates too is like a home environment with connection. That was the whole premise of Hope on Haven Hill, and
The home environment.
yeah, the original is like the actual intensive treatment is a house. They eat together, they cook together, and it's very much like a home.
The children are with them.
Yep.
That's what's amazing. That's what I say,
They
because
keep
I drive by. I
so
don't
it's
live far from there, so it's like,
generational. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, they reunite with other children that maybe they're in foster care, and it's beautiful.
yeah. It's so powerful, and it just speaks to the this community aspect of it, where we're bringing this back into the community, and to the greater point. This is it's all beautiful. It's all all storytelling here. It's we're going to decentralization. We need to go to decentralization, meaning that, like, it's not necessarily Mass General Brigham that owns this huge hospital system that everybody is getting their health care from this big system.
Mm.
Instead, they are going to Eagle PT when they need the PT, and they're going to their local farmer when they need most of their food. At least if we're getting like 75%, sure, 25% of that corporate, that's always probably going to exist. That is
Yeah.
America. It's hard to get away from that, but 75%, if we can decentralize, that's where I think the future, which is kind of murky, but it's also kind of cool, because it's murky because we might not get to a place where we find out some really cool stuff somewhere, and it's not necessarily shared like it is now, or like it even was 10 years ago through the medical school system or whatever. But I think we need to actually get to like real healing and real, making people better and getting them to be able to exist in this world with technology. We need to decentralize and go towards that, where we're focusing, local. It's more local.
Yeah.
It's not, everything's not out there. It's,
Yeah.
this person is interacting with you. You have that trust. You have that communication.
No, I think that's great. There is like some of that feel like when you go. It's weird because like going on the internet, you can get little pieces of, but there's something about, like, for me anyway, it's that human connection and being in the same room as somebody, and being able to get that holistic care. There's a transfer that happens, and so I think being able to see a practitioner that's outside of the system and is connecting with you, and that you trust is, I of all the things that AI is going to take over, I don't think it's going to take holistic practitioners over.
It's definitely not going to, because there's no technology that can make you feel the way in your have somebody help you feel better in your body,
Yeah.
and in your mind, because they're all connected. It's so important, and they're not coming for you, they're not coming for us, and to your point about the, the connection and having like the connection with human beings, I feel like that's why I do the podcast. I feel like that's why this is my job, is because I yearn for it.
Yeah.
And I fell into a world where, you can be having conversation with somebody and then they not necessarily their fault always, but they just are, they're driven by the phone is on their body and they pick up their phone and they're engaged in someone else. They're thinking about somewhere else. It's like, nope. You're coming into the studio.
Yep.
We're going to sit down for 2 hours. We're going to put the fucking phones away and we are going to engage.
Love it.
Yes. And I feel like that's my gift. That's my gift. You might have said like I'm a connector, but I'm a connector with people who are like before I could have put myself all over there and connected with everybody if I wanted to. Now I'm learning how to connect with the right people and the people who I want to connect with and I want to build a tribe with and build, community, that decentralization that we're talking about. The 200-mile radius. Yeah. It's not just about food. It's about community. It's about, that's where it is. You don't want to travel. You probably don't want to travel further than 2 hours, Probably don't want to be for 200 miles. You probably don't want to be in a car too much more than that.
Yeah.
So let's sure, you can jump on a plane here and there, giddy up, get out there a little bit, have different experiences. I'm all for that. Different culture. That's how we learn. But let's decentralize to 200 miles around us.
Yep.
Go.
I love it. You're at this vibe. You figured it out, like what lights you up. So you created your vibe, right? And like now let the synchronicities happen, right?
Yes.
Draw it in.
Yes. Let the synchronicities happen. Kathleen, you are one of the coolest people that I know. You give me strength. By being the mother that you're being and through our initial interaction and how we met through your son, Nate, you that is such powerful work. So like hear that, moms, you're struggling, you need somebody to connect with, PT, this is the person to go check out, go connect with her, go get some trust with her. I know that I'm going to continue to do that with you and to continue to learn from you. Get to meet more of your family, get to meet more, more people who are in your circle, Carrie, Elise, the functional medicine practitioner, let's keep doing this together and, keep walking the path. I had the gentleman from the Herbal Path on, the other day and
oh, cool.
Yeah, he's great. John Morrow. And that's what he says. He says, yeah, let's just keep walking this path together.
Yeah.
I like, okay.
I love it.
I love it. Where can people find you?
So I am _Eagle PT on Instagram, and that's where I'm probably most active. So I would do that. And I'm at eagleptnh.com is my website. And you can set up a free discovery call if you just want to chat about what's going on.
Yeah, I think that you guys should heed that advice. If you're feeling like you're disillusioned with the insurance-based system, it likely won't even be that much more expensive. There's ways that that all of that can happen. It can take place, and I think that you'll see that the world is going this way anyways, and that we're going to be decentralized. So please go and check out my friend Kathleen over at Eagle PT. You guys are awesome. Please, like and subscribe the show. Share this with your friends. Share this with people, in this community, in the Seacoast. Everybody needs it though. So share it broader. It helps me to keep doing this. Kathleen, thank you so much for coming on the show today. You were incredible.
Thank you.
Giddy up, guys. We will see you next time.
Giddy up.
Love it.
Say it.
You got to say it, baby. Giddy up. Giddy up.
Giddy up.
Awesome, man. We'll see you guys next time.